Bye. My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our DUK Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. Welcome back once again to another episode of DUK Dogs, everybody. I am your host, Josh Miller. And before we get going, let's make sure we take the time to thank our wonderful sponsors for bringing you this show. So thank you first and foremost to Eukanuba. Eukanuba is the presenting partner of this show. Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020, and as we learned on the last episode, also 2616 are the blends of food that I'm feeding my dogs currently. And I just cannot say enough good things about the formulas, from health to coat to energy level to recovery, just across the board, fantastic. And if you have a Puppy Pro, if you have not listened to the previous episode, go listen to it, because we talk a lot about those formulas and the why behind those different stages. www.eukanuba.com. Also, thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is your 5-star crash test ready kennel, both in the intermediate and in the large sizes. So no matter how big or small your four-legged hunting partner is, you can be sure that you're traveling the safest way that you possibly can. Also, check out the kennel cot, the kennel fan, the kennel cover. They have a lot of accessories to make sure that you can keep your dog comfortable and cool. www.luckyduck.com. Also, thank you to Gun Dog Supply. Gun Dog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs for your four-legged hunting partner. So as we head into training season, be sure to go stock up on poppers and bumpers and launchers and anything and everything that you think you need for this season. Don't let it go out of stock like in years past. Supplies have been tough from these manufacturers. So just make sure that you get ahead of that. www.gundogsupply.com. When I say manufacturers, I don't mean Gun Dog Supply. The manufacturers that provide the Gun Dog Supply with the product, just to be clear. Thank you to Sitka Gear. Sitka Gear is your premium option for outdoor clothing, not only during the hunting season, but also for your everyday wear. I'm literally in head to toe in it right now, and we wear it every day. And not only does it keep us in the field longer in those cold weather times during season, but then also during these warm weather times during training season, it just keeps us cool and comfortable, and it's fantastic. www.sitkagear.com. Also, thank you to Kent Cartridge. Kent is the shotgun shell of choice for us. Not only the shells that we shot, the bismuth, all season long, but during training season, make sure that you are looking into those poppers. Poppers are a way that you can keep safe, yet simulate the noise and the percussion, whether you're talking about steadiness, whether you're talking about bird and gun introduction. Great tools, so go check out the Kent poppers. And last but not least, thank you to Retriever Roadmap. Retriever Roadmap is your premium online option to train your dog at home with the guidance of videos that are step-by-step to help guide you along the way to making your dog training experience a success. www.retrieverroadmap.com. All right, you guys. Well, back in the air quotes studio right now. If you've not listened to the show, the reason I say air quotes is because it is my bedroom. But back in the studio here today, and this is probably gonna be a little quicker one, because I'm a firm believer that we're just to a point that there's just not many hours. There's not enough hours in the day. Like, I need to petition to get more hours in a day, because like, I got to pick my kids up from school, and then once I have them from school, then obviously I've got stuff with them, and I actually leave tomorrow because we're going to be shooting more videos for Retriever Roadmap, and because we're still fighting this wonderful winter that we've been stuck in here in Wisconsin. I'm actually flying down to Tennessee to get that video work done. So a lot to do, a lot to pack up on, but I have a few things I want to hit on specifically today. One is maybe kind of a clarification from last week's episode I want to touch on. The second one is going to be a little bit of a rant, forewarning, and it's an irritating topic to me too. So we'll see where this goes. I'll try not to get too far down a rabbit hole, but you never know. And then 3 would be, I kind of got away from some of the questions that had originally came in because Whitney and I did our Eukanuba episode here, the last episode, and I want to get back to some of those because I think there's still probably some great ones there, and I want to read through some of them. So, okay, so thank you first and foremost for the feedback that we got from the Eukanuba episode. I actually can't believe how many people reached out saying how much they love that episode. And I think it was a lot of aha moments, right? There were a lot of times in there that was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that, or I didn't realize that, or I didn't know that a food could have this kind of benefit, or maybe some ideas of how changing a formula or changing how you feed can help your dog at home. And I love that kind of stuff because we're always striving for that, right? We're all looking for where do we go from here? How do we elevate? How do we get better? How do we do more for our dog? And quite frankly, nutrition is one of the biggest things that we can do for our dog. And so as we dig into that, I just think that there are so many positives there. I cannot wait. I've already talked to my buddy Jim at Eukanuba, and he is going to get a nutritionalist that will come on the show for us and dig deeper into that. Already looking forward to that because I think that would be an absolute stellar episode. And when we get to that, I am going to be reaching out to you guys via social media. You'll see it come on, probably on that DUK Dogs Instagram story. I want you guys to send in questions because I want to have a lot for this individual to talk about, and I want there to be some really dedicated questions about what you are wanting to hear. So just kind of keep your eye and ear out for that because I mean, you can probably tell I'm already excited about that. We don't have it lined up yet. So really good stuff. But a clarification, okay? So we talked about in the last episode how Eukanuba, the feed itself, and we talked about HRI, heat-related illness, of how the formula helps fight that. Okay, so I need to somewhat retract a statement that I was informed I can't actually make that claim that it does that because there's too many factors. So I'll actually read you guys the message here because I thought it was a good one. So So the answer was, or the note I got was, we can't say that our food helps prevent HRI since there are way too many factors at play, many of which you hit on. And that is true, right? There's so many factors, right? Whether it's, what shape is your dog in? How hot is it outside, right? Do you have any kind of cool area to get the dog into? How hard are you running? How, are you in the shade or in the sun? There's so many. How does a dog, each person handles the sun differently or the heat differently? Each dog does. There's too many factors, right? So I get that. You can't. But we can say that it is proven to help our dogs better regulate their body temperature. So I'm sure that's a little bit of the legal team going oh, Josh, don't make this claim that we can't make. So, I get it. I get it from a business, but hopefully that makes sense. And here's why I felt the need, to add this in here is because I had a message that came in from somebody that had listened to that episode, and the comment was something to the point of, so if I feed this food, do I no longer have to worry about the heat? You can't just throw that caution to the wind, right? You still have to be smart. You still have to read your dog. It doesn't mean, just because I put sunscreen on doesn't mean that I'm going to go cook in the Sahara Desert for a day, completely shirtless and bottomless, right? You're doing what you can to be protective, right? You're doing what you can. You're putting the odds in your favor that you don't get into this very dangerous situation. And the food that you're feeding, how you hydrate, how you handle the exertion, All of that goes into play. So yes, you still play an enormous role in this. And at the end of the day, it is still up to you to make sure that your dog doesn't enter these types of dangerous situations. So you still have to think, you still have to be present. You still have to watch for this stuff. So hopefully that clarifies this a little bit, but it's still an amazing thing to me. It's an amazing thing for me to think about that your nutrition can help with so many things, right? Okay, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit to my rant, okay? And you're going to have to bear with me a little bit. I'll give you a little backstory of why I'm having this rant. I have always felt very strongly about this, but I have spoken to 5 people in the last 2 days that have had issues and have been stressed out and overwhelmed because of this one particular thing. And that one particular thing is dog Facebook groups. I'll tell you what, I deleted Facebook off of my phone. I now only go on Facebook because we have a Retriever Roadmap community, and I'll go in just on my laptop to go in to that particular group just to be active and answer questions in there. I think dog Facebook groups, my goodness, it is like a complete cesspool for comments. So one, probably the most complimentary comment that I have gotten from Retriever Roadmap, and this has now happened numerous times, is people send me a comment or a message saying how comfortable they feel asking a question in our community because they know they're not going to get ridiculed or put down or have some smart comment. And that will continue to happen because I will shut down anyone that wants to come in and be like that. That's not me. That's not the vibe that I'm going to allow to be in this group. It's not going to happen. I want people to feel comfortable. It is unbelievable. Before I did that, I would see the comments in these groups and see the questions and see these. It's mind blowing, you guys. It is like if you own it, everyone owns a dog, right? Which means everybody has an opinion about what these dogs are, and everybody thinks that they know it all, right? Okay, so for me, I drive a Ford. Okay, if you asked me what brand of vehicle to get, I'd tell you a Ford, and I would tell you everything I like about it and probably be too passionate about it. Like, I have no right to compare that because I haven't owned 10 Chevys and 10 Fords and 10 Dodges and 10 Toyotas to tell you the differences between them all, know them inside and out, and be able to actually have an educated opinion to pass on to you. So I don't do it, right? I tell you, I have a Ford, I like it, but I don't know what else is out there, right? I go to my mechanic for that kind of information. Now, if I were to ask a question in a mechanic group about, hey, I have this truck, it's making this goofy noise, does anybody know what this could be, right? Like how would you in this situation like there to be 94 comments of what an idiot you are and how don't you know this and it's the flux capacitor or some kind of smart aleck comment, right? Like how would you like that to be? Like I'm a legitimately normal person asking a innocent question because I don't know. That is what these dog groups are. It seems like there's just all these people that want to jump in and make fun of someone or pile on someone or have an opinion. It's unbelievable to me. It really is. And meanwhile, I look at all this and I just feel so bad for the person that asked the question because the question was simply because they didn't know. It was an honest to God question. This is what I'm struggling with. How do I fix this? Right? And it's there's a lot of things that go through my head with that. So first off, so let me back up. The people that I've talked to, the reason they've gotten drug into this rabbit hole is because people read the comments. Like these people all did. And then they get all worked up about I'm going too slow. I'm not doing this right. I'm doing that. And then they start panicking, right? So if you are training your dog, what I'm going to tell you, I think the best thing you could do is get out of those Facebook dog groups and don't go look at them. You want to make your head spin and be more confused than when you walked into it, go do that. I think get with a program, Retriever Roadmap, and just stick with it, right? Lean on the people inside of that are like-minded, that are rowing the boat in the same direction, okay? Because when I look at these comments and I look at all these things that go into this and these people that are just being smart alecks and are literally having fights in these comments, first off, good for you guys. Like, you got to feel like a tough guy for 2 minutes behind a keyboard. Cool, right? But there are so many factors to the people, because not everyone's like that, right? Like, there's some people that are legitimately saying, hey, this is what you need to do. But here's the deal. Most people are not going to take into consideration all the factors that this individual could be or would be dealing with that may go into what plays a role into how you approach the situation, okay? How much time does the person have to work with the dog? What is their daily routine like? What have they done up to that point, right? What are their future plans for this? What do they have accessible to them, whether that's property, whether that's tools, whether that's, other hands, what have you, right? There's so much that goes into this. That's why oftentimes, like I did it today, I spent an hour and 20 minutes on the phone with someone that I will never see a dollar from, helping them through this because their mind was so spun up over this Facebook group question that they asked, and they had, she said it was 94 comments. None of them were helpful. They were all, just condescending put downs. Okay. But what they didn't even take the time to figure out or ask the question, because why? They're not professionals, most of them, right? They didn't have time to ask, or they didn't ask, that this lady, whom I spoke to, I won't use her name. I asked her if I could talk about this, by the way. She has 4 kids, has a husband that has recently passed away. All 4 kids are under 12, by the way. She has a dog that she is trying to do some work with because she has always wanted to run hunt tests with a dog, okay? I'm just going to stop there. Think about the hurdles that this person is dealing with. I have 2 kids. I couldn't imagine 4 by myself and trying to do this with no experience, no background, just a desire to want to take what I have, my time and my energy. What is my me time? I want to do this with this dog, and I want to accomplish running and becoming a hunter retriever champion. That's what she told me she wants to get this dog to. And it is her first hunting dog. This is something that her husband was passionate about. She wants to carry this on. If you would have taken the time to understand that before you had the smart aleck comments, probably wouldn't have said what you said, right? It's just incredibly irritating to me. So where I'm going with this is I think these Facebook groups that get into all this kind of stuff, please, you guys, if you are one of these people that's searching for advice, there's so many things out there. There are YouTube channels. There is, again, I'll just do my shameless plug of Retriever Roadmap. Like, there is a reason, you guys, that we made that as cheap and as affordable as we did. $29 a month. You have access to everything. The community, the videos, me, the stuff that we are going to be announcing here in a week. You have access to all of that. You have a support system. Okay. It breaks my heart having the conversations that I had with her today. So the best thing you could do, delete Facebook, get it off your phone. Don't get sucked into those comments. Don't get sucked into those conversations. I had another person that I just spoke to yesterday that had a similar thing to where he was force fetching his dog, and I believe the dog was 10 months old, and he was running into maturity issues. The dog just wasn't mature enough to be going through this yet. Okay? Very immature. Well, he read in these Facebook groups that he should have had this done long ago and has to get on this right now. And so he felt like if I don't get this done now, then I'm going to fail. Okay, again, like, who made that comment? Someone that has done this with one dog or 101 dogs? You don't know. What I can tell you is that in my circle, the people that I know that are really good, that are really professional, that know what they're doing, guess what? None of them are on Facebook making those comments. None of them. Probably because they're too busy doing other things, being a professional and being productive in what they're doing. It just absolutely kills me. Like, I'm telling you guys, if you would have been a fly on the wall hearing the phone call I had today, it would have broke your heart too. And that's the reason that I felt inclined to get on here and soapbox a little bit, because it irritates me. It really, really does. Okay. That's enough of that rabbit hole. I want to get into, like I told you guys before, we had a bunch of questions come in back when I had asked for them, and I don't read these beforehand because I wanted to be kind of like off the cuff answers. So I'm just going to keep going down the line. So Christopher Spaller, awesome, said, "Hey Josh, you asked in the last Duck Dog episode for possible topics. First off, I want to say I appreciate the self-improvement topics you cover. You have a way of communicating that is truly inspiring." Thank you for that, man. I really do appreciate that. One of the podcast episodes early in 2022, you talked about extreme ownership, and I went out, bought the book, read the book. After reading it for the second time, I thought it may be good to read the follow-up book, The Dichotomy of Leadership. I recently finished that and found myself wondering about the dichotomies of dog training. I like where this is going. As I train my 5-month-old pup, Strut, I thought this may be a good podcast topic discussing the dichotomies within dog training. I don't think you have done one on this, but I could be wrong. Keep up the inspiring work. The world needs more good people like you. Well, I do really, really appreciate that, man. Okay, so, man, we could do a whole one. You got me excited. We could do a whole episode just around this, and I probably should, right? Because there are so many dichotomies as it relates to dog training. So we talked a little bit about this in the Retriever Roadmap community. We actually did a book club together where we read Extreme Ownership, and it was so interesting to go in and discuss and dissect, these chapters, from a dog training lens. And it was really interesting. There was a lot of, really feel like there's a lot of self-growth, self-growth that was done with the entire community that did that. There was some really good points, really good conversations. I was really proud of what we did there. But you're right. The Dichotomy of Leadership, which is the next book in that series, talks about so many of the dichotomies around leadership, but that's what we've all talked about, right? Like training dogs is leadership. It is being a leader. If you are not a strong leader, you cannot do this, right? The cool thing is that your dog is going to look to you for leadership regardless. So if you are an owner, you are a leader. It just depends on how good of a leader you want to be, right? So as I look at the dichotomy of dog training, I think we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but maybe not a ton. I mean, just like, let's talk about something that just like pop into my head. Okay, so you have to be firm, but not too firm, right? You can't let your dog walk all over you, but as the same token, you can't be too firm to be where you're heavy-handed and you're putting the dog in this like submissive state, right? So that's a tightrope, right? I deal with that with my kids. I'm sure a lot of you parents are sitting there nodding your heads too, going like, yeah, big deal, right? You need to be firm, but not too firm, okay? You need to, here's one that just, again, this is kind of popcorn time because I didn't prep for this. So you need to train, but you can't train too much, right? Like we hear of people that are training for like 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, and kind of wondering why the dog gets burnt out, right? You need to be on top of it, right? but you can't be too early. Just like we talked about, you have a dog that is immature, putting him through force fetch, and it didn't turn out well, right? Well, if you gave it a little time before hitting that train retrieve portion, you would have probably been more successful. But that doesn't mean that you sit and you do nothing until that point, right? So you have to train, but you have to train at the right pace, right? You want to, like treats are a big one to me, right? You want to reward, but you can't reward too much, right? If you're rewarding for everything, all of a sudden, one, the reward becomes less desirable, and two, the dog starts looking for reward for everything. You'd be shocked how many dogs come into the kennel for training, and when we start on lead obedience and heel work, the entire time the dog is like nipping at our hand, expecting a treat the entire time. Now I get it, right? So treat training, okay? You need to do it to introduce it, but you can't let it go on for too long because then you get bad habits, right? Right? Running marks, right? Or throwing retrieves. Like you need to do it, but you don't want to overdo it, right? You don't want a dog that's completely reliant on the rise. You don't want a dog that is creating bad habits, from maybe getting retrieves before you've gone through the formalization of working with their mouth and making them understand, how to hold, how to drop, there is so much to this, you guys. It's really a neat thing. But I think just simply talking about it and appreciating that this is a part of this journey is a big deal. Most of the time, I think the reason that, let's go back to, I don't want to get down the rabbit hole again, but the Facebook groups, okay? I think the reason that so often people get so passionate about this is the way to do it is because it worked for them and their dog the one time that they did it. Well, it doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody, right? But the same side, like for you as an owner, what you did worked with dog one, it may not work with dog two. You might have to have a different approach. You may have to have a different way of communicating. You may have to have a different line of where the line is between firm and too firm, right? If you've had multiple dogs, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Dog two is never the cookie cutter of dog one. So the dichotomies in which you live in, oftentimes I would say it really does dictate how successful you are, right? It's really an interesting topic. I'm really trying not to get pulled into the weeds on this because, like I told you guys, I didn't have a ton of time today. This might be an episode in itself. I really think this could be a cool one. I think this is something that maybe I could bring somebody else on and even have a conversation around, because I feel like if this is one of the conversations that, just like how this was somewhat, I'm going to say, dropped on me just because I didn't get to prepare for it, my choice, right? But I feel like this is one of those things that if you drop this on someone else that kind of wasn't expecting it, it'd be a great popcorn session, right? Like, I think all these situations and ideas and moments would start popping up, like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. It's really kind of neat how sometimes not preparing can be one of the most fun parts about it. But I feel like this is one of those topics that we really could go with, and we could make this be, I think, a really, really fun episode. Yeah, let's hang it there, because I think that this could be more. So Christopher, thank you for sending that in. I think that's a really, really neat topic, and also kudos for you for taking that next step and getting that next book. I've said it before, but that Extreme Ownership book has been such an impactful book for me as it relates to my leadership, not only from a dog standpoint, but from a business standpoint, from a father standpoint, from a husband standpoint, from a friendship standpoint. And I would highly encourage anybody out there, Extreme Ownership, Jocko Willink, Leif Babin, I would highly suggest you looking into that. Dichotomy of Leadership is also a good one if you guys have read it. I will say, for me and for most people I've talked to, it's a harder one to get into. Extreme Ownership, it just wasn't. For I think most of everyone I talked to, easy one to get into, but it's a little more difficult to get into. But once you're into it, I think things kind of roll a little bit. So Christopher, if you are listening to this, send me a note. I'd love to hear your experience if that was a little more difficult to get into than extreme ownership. But anyway, hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day, rest of your week. I'm going to go shoot some more videos for Retriever Roadmap, and we have a super, super, super exciting announcement to make that I may even make on the next episode here as it pertains to that program. So stay tuned for that. But hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to Eukanuba, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.